What's up, guys? It's Coach John for Primal Performance Coaching. So today we're going to talk about overtraining, and more specifically what the title says is don't be a bitch. So basically, more specifically, that most people that worry and whine about the fact that they might be overtraining or they might be pushing a little bit too hard are actually really probably pussies, and mind the language, but they're actually probably someone that is a bit of a strength textbook nerd. I call them the strength nerds. And there's a lot of them in powerlifting coaching, also a lot of them in strength conditioning. Now, what do strength nerds have in common? And people are probably not going to like some of the wording that I'm using here, but whatever. It's a way to kind of convey what I'm pointing out, and it's not to actually take a shot at anyone in particular, it's just pointing some things out within the industry. Now, what do I mean by a strength nerd? So, you read the textbook, you kind of you follow what the textbook says, you will make sure very much oh my goodness, I have to get to 70%, and then if I train more than 3 sets, I'm gonna overtrain. And then if I calculate the volume, it's more than 10,000, I can't do it. Right? Don't be like that. Now, I'm gonna tell my opinion on overtraining. I believe you can overtrain, but people gotta realize, especially workout people, what they think is overtraining, I've seen many people do way more. So, take for example any professional athlete, or any athlete, or even just an Olympic athlete. So look at an Olympic, what would be a good Olympic speed skater would be a good one, because this is something that I've read about. I've read an article about it. So speed skater, they're gonna train. They're gonna lift because they have to lift because they're a power sport. So that speed skater, especially long distance, they're gonna lift probably two hours a day. Then they're gonna do some sort of active recovery stuff, probably about an hour a day, and then some mobility work. And then they're also gonna train on the ice. And they're gonna do that week in, week out for years. And they're not gonna die. And they're not gonna but they also fuel their body appropriately to overtrain that way. And they don't start just by doing that, they build into it. But, there's points where, you're gonna severely work hard and you gotta work into it. It's the same with a lot of different training systems. You can work into that. And then another aspect would be football players. They lift, they do 2-a-days, and then there's probably some other speed work mixed in there that they're doing. Yeah, sure, and a lot of these guys in the university and stuff, they're in school and they're doing all this stuff, plus they might have a job on top of that as well. That's a lot of activity, and these guys don't burn out. Why? Because, well, some of them do, and then I'll also put examples, if I've seen some athletes that were like that, and then they just stop training because of an injury, they'll gain 20-30 pounds, because that's how much food they're slamming down to make sure that they have the energy to do this. So I think overtraining in some ways is a myth. I believe that it is possible, but I also think I think it's more inefficient energy versus overtraining. So what do I mean by that? So if you look at female athlete triad would be the most easily described as this, and it happens in men too, overtraining, but female athlete triad or adaptations of female athlete triad would be very much what you would experience. So female athlete triad is a combination of overtraining, under recovering, and under eating. And then also under eating in fat and carbs, so under eating your energy sources. So what would that entail? So that basically means you're in a very chronic fatigue state, your body's not fueled. You can overtrain and overreach a fair bit if you're eating enough. That's the thing. And you will then adapt to that overtraining. It will no longer be overtraining for you. And I think for a lot of people too, there definitely is a point where you go past, there's diminishing returns and there's a lot of injury risk. Now, but here's the thing, people will never go to that. If they go 3 sets of 10, and they might do 2 exercises, and then go at something that feels comfortable for them. But you'll never see someone try to do 20 reps of an exercise, you'll never see them try to do 5-6 sets, even 10 sets of 10. If you don't go to those extreme ranges, you have no idea what your body can handle. So you need to be able to push yourself into the red and see how far into the red you can go before you know what's proper for you. Because if you don't, you'll never achieve progressive overload, you'll never achieve a lot of these other principles of strength training. So Basically, I think a lot of people hold themselves back when they train. I think they train like pussies. I think they train like pussies on purpose, because they feel like, oh, if I do this, I won't overstrain, I won't overtrain. That's actually kind of bullshit. Obviously, everyone has a different amount of life stress, everyone's gonna have an optimal range, and the textbook won't tell you. You're gonna have to go and fucking do it, and then you'll know. And that's honestly what I tell people. That's the best. And with powerlifters that I train, I will push the shit out of you for the first. I'll like build you into it for the first 2 to 3 months, but at month 4, 5, 6, I'm gonna push the shit out of you. If I train you for powerlifting, I'm gonna try to break you without breaking you. I'm gonna try to push you to where I think the breaking point is, and then I'm gonna taper it back. And then I'm gonna figure out where you can sit, where you can kind of float in, and play around with what lifts to push and what lifts not to push. But when you actually look at this, I think overtraining is kind of bullshit. And I think if you want to push more, you can push more. And I think for a lot of general population people, there's a hell of a lot more than they can push. And even like powerlifters, especially you strengtheners that sit behind the spreadsheet and just fucking do. And I got this a lot when I was training. People used to call me Johnny Juice, and it was because I trained like a juice head. I would do ridiculous volume. That's what my professor would say. And like no one else that I went to school with, or even the professor, was willing to do a lot of the shit that I was willing to do. And I experimented on myself. And what happened was I got way better results than anyone else got, or a lot of people that I know have gotten. Obviously, the one thing I'm lacking is conditioning and leanness, but I'm working on that, and I will get there. But in terms of like strength, nah, I don't know too many people that progress the way I did without drugs. So if you continue to push, you continue to learn and grow that way. I also think there is a benefit to learning that, and I think that like honestly, when I push like the way that I used to, I got some phenomenal results, and I'm learning how to refine that and push without killing myself now, and I'm finding a pretty good balance of it. So it's just a matter of working with what you have and figuring out what to go with. So if you guys enjoyed that video, like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also give me a follow on Instagram at Primal Performance Coaching or Primal Online Coaching. Until next time, see you guys.